Pay attention
What
to.
God wanted to provide was a partner for the human so that the humans can be two but also one. And specifically, the delivering ally that God provided would be the womb that continues the preservation, the hosting and the preservation of life, the mother. And that's what Adam calls Eve. Em kol chai, she is the mother of all living. So God takes the human, puts the human in the garden, gives them a command. Okay?
Yeah.
So, next thing, Yahweh Elohim said, it's not good. This is the first thing that is not good. On the 7 days, it was good, 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 very good. It's the first thing, not good. It's not good for the human to be alone.
Because there's just one human.
There's just the human. Ha-adam.
The human.
The human. I will make and the Hebrew word here is ezer, for him. It's usually translated with the word helper, or King James help meet. I recently came across what is now my favorite translation. Thank you, Dr. Carmen Imes, Hebrew Bible professor down at Biola now, University. She has the translation ally, which is perfect.
An ally.
Ally. And I've modified it slightly to delivering ally. Because an ezer is always, well, actually the main one it describes in the Hebrew Bible every time this word appears is God. And specifically when God comes to rescue Israel. Actually, we saw it in Psalm 46 in the previous conversation.
Yep.
God is the help for his people or for his city when the world's falling apart.
Yeah.
So if you have the idea of like assistant helper or helper to the assistant, like this it means the only one who can provide the deliverance that is needed to provide safety or accomplish the mission. So that's why
this is like making a treaty with a neighboring king who can come and protect and rescue you.
Or even more, that they have the river in their land.
Yeah.
And we have like the flat, fertile farm fields.
Yeah.
And so let's become each other's ezer. So I can grow the wheat, but you have to send the water to me.
I see.
And we need...
We're allies.
We're allies. It's a perfect word.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carmen. So I will make a delivering ally for him.
But delivering because... Why are you adding the word delivering?
I'm adding the word delivering because what it means is there's something wrong. There's some challenge, obstacle.
Without the ally, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. And so this relates to, what do I know about the job given to Ha-Adam from the 7-day narrative? It is to rule as male and female that together are the image, and to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, and subdue.
Yeah, and that calling cannot be fulfilled with the lone human. So I'll make the delivering ally. So you get the scene of Yahweh forming creatures from the ground, bringing them to the humans to see what the human would call them. And the human calls the names of the creatures, but for the human there was not found an ezer. So now we have a whole narrative where God takes the human on a journey so that the human begins to see what the human needs. Like the human begins to realize that the human doesn't have an Ezer. Because, like, here's those creatures and those creatures, and, well, that's not like me. I can't work with that.
Mm.
That can't be an ally to me.
Mm.
At least I think that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So God causes a sleep, actually not just any sleep, but like trance, visionary, altered consciousness sleep. That's what tardema means.
Mm.
And he slept, and he, that is Yahweh, took one from his sides, or one of his sides.
Mm-hmm.
He closed the flesh in his place. Here's the key word. And Yahweh built the side, which he took from the human into woman. And then he brought her to the human, and the human sings a little song of rejoicing.
And famously, this has been translated as rib.
Ah, correct.
Took one of his ribs.
Yeah.
But the word, and we've talked about this before, the word in Hebrew literally means a side.
Yeah, it describes, Selah describes the side of a building, the side of a box, like the Ark of the Covenant, or the side of a hill. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So he
takes
one of his sides.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, so you've described this as like splitting him in two in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. My point is the imagery is very suggestive. And I think that we're being invited to see many layers of meaning. So the fact that...
And when I say him, you've also kind of made a point of saying Ha-Adam was like not gendered in a way, like in the narrative.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is a default in that Ha-Adam is a masculine noun. But it also is the generic title for species. And the first time Ha-Adam, the human, is used in the 7-day creation narrative, it explicitly is the species name for male and female. This is in Genesis 1:27. God created Ha-Adam.
And here you get this picture of someone who split in half becomes male and female.
Yeah. So whether the default beginning state is male and then out of male comes woman, that's a legitimate inference of the narrative. But I do want to at least be aware that that male default is not the emphasis of the story, because Ha-Adam is generic, can refer to the species or to a human male. And then the words man and woman that are specifically gender words or biological sex words don't appear till after the splitting.
Okay.
So I just feel like it has to be significant.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So you made a point of saying when Yahweh takes the side, Yahweh builds the side.
Yes. So this word build, it's curious. Here, we'll just do a real-time situation here. This is Genesis 2, what is it, 19? So New American Standard has fashioned. So they kind of make the word feel less awkward.
Like crafted or something.
Yeah. So 375 occurrences in the Hebrew Bible. So Noah is going to build an altar. That's the word bana. Nimrod is going to build Nineveh. Abraham builds an altar. Actually, in the book of Genesis, the two things that get built are cities or altars.
What's Genesis 30?
Oh, actually, well, that's a really interesting one.
Weird.
Yeah, it actually makes sense, but it's a deep rabbit hole.
Okay, we'll skip it.
Exodus 1, the Israelites are building cities for Pharaoh. Moses builds an altar. Notice this is basically it.
Yeah.
Altars and cities.
Altars and cities, okay.
So it's builds the side of Ha-Adam into a woman. That's weird. It's a weird thing to say in Hebrew. It's supposed to catch your attention, like...
It's supposed to make you think, like, is this an altar or is this a city?
Yeah. What you build are constructed items. And the only two things, built in the Torah.
Because when he formed man out of the dirt.
Yes, it was a word for molding. Yatsar, which is what's used to describe what a potter does with clay. So this is more of a construction word. So and this is very common in the Hebrew Bible. The biblical authors will use intentionally awkward, strange feeling turns of phrase.
This is awkward in Hebrew.
It's awkward in Hebrew to get your attention. That they're either
It's an idea behind
there's
it.
an idea that they're either hyperlinking back to, or in this case, I think foundationally, like establishing an idea that's going to become important in what follows. So my point here is just to say, here's a human in a place of vulnerability and with an obstacle. They can't do what God has called the human to do. So God provides an Azer, a delivering ally, by building it for the vulnerable human. God builds the delivering help in the form of a woman. That's the foundational image in this little scene. Okay. And those aren't details you would necessarily know to pay attention to. But as we're going to see, the little thing I just said is just going to keep coming up over and over and over again, but in really creative twists.
And the thing that you said is that he builds a woman?
You have somebody who's in a desperate situation. They can't get themselves out of it.
Got it.
And so God provides a delivering ally, an Azer. And God provides it.
But here's why I think women in ministry makes sense. Okay, this is a little bit different because of the Edenic ideal. The Edenic ideal. Okay, to me that is a point of resolution in my head for this. I can argue against Junia Julia. I can argue for it. I can argue this and that qualification. Oh, wonderful, women pass the tests of elders in these passages. Well, why don't we have women priests in Israel? And then you could say, oh, well, we kind of did, because Zipporah in Exodus 4 performs the duty of a priest, doesn't she? Now, there's no priesthood, but she still does it. They even use the technical term for the knife for circumcision that the priest used. I can go on and on and on and on. I am a master of both positions.
What do you do with Deborah?
Okay? What was that?
What do you do with Deborah?
She's a prophetess. Are all prophets pastors? Are all pastors prophets? I mean, there's a division of the gifts. So again, if you're going to say this, and if you're going to loop the prophecy thing over to the eldership and the ministry thing, it's not quite doable, because Paul says that not everybody has the same gift. Well, all women have the same. Well, really? Like, where does he say that? In other words, again, I can argue both sides of this and shoot at the other side real nicely. So what resolves it in my head, what makes me feel positive about an egalitarian position, is ultimately, I think, if we were to go back to Eden and ask this question, which one of these two are supposed to be servant, steward, rulers of Eden? I think the answer is going to be, yeah. Like, why are you asking me to pick? Okay, and to me, it is that simple. I don't really care about any of the other arguments, because I can build them and I can tear them down. It's just the way it is. So it's not as bad of a situation as chronology and eschatology, but it's one of these things where if you can't sort of reduce it to one thing and come up with a resolution, then I think you're going to end up spending so much more time on it than, and where is it going to end for you? For me, it ends with Eden.
That's the mic drop moment there, people, right there. It's the Edenic ideal, settles it.
Please make sure you're subscribed, turn on the alerts, press that like button, send this out to people that you love, and encourage them to share the good news for what Jesus has done for our world. Let's get back to the message.
Michael Heiser, one thing that I did love about him is what he said to this point, is that he would be like, I don't care which side you're on, that you approach me on. I can throw something at you in Scripture to debunk either side. The way to settle this is to go back to Genesis. So help us see the importance of having our understanding and the relationship of equal value placed on men and women, pun intended, being rooted in the story of the Garden of Eden in Genesis.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where we need to go, because the garden gives us God's vision for humanity. And what we find from the very beginning is that male and female are the image of God. And what does an image do? They rule over creation on God's behalf and kibosh evil. That's what it says. And men and women are supposed to do this. And that women are the corresponding ally to men in carrying out God's purposes for the garden. And none of this involves hierarchy. If you want to find hierarchy, I think the first time we see it is after the fall in Genesis 3. And what's fascinating to me is how many centuries the church has focused in on the hierarchy of Genesis 3:16 and made that the template for our gender relations in the church, rather than going back to chapters 1 and 2 and saying, look, God's design, God's vision is for men and women to take up rulership together. There's a partnership that God intended that is obscured and fractured by sin in Genesis 3. Why would we lean into sin? Why wouldn't we lean into God's original design?
Exactly.
Remember, there was an important analogy in the design of the narrative in the garden.
Yeah.
In between the story of Adam and Eve in the garden and then Cain and his wife and the building of the city.
Oh, right.
In the garden,
Oh, yes.
God provided woman as an ezer,
Okay.
which is the Hebrew word for delivering ally.
Yep.
And God built it. It's the word built.
Yeah.
And we noted that word because it's weird. It's an architectural term.
Weird in Hebrew.
It's weird in Hebrew to say God built the woman.
Okay.
Because it's the word you use to describe the construction of buildings.
Yeah.
And then,
There's a whole series of play on words, right?
yes, a whole series of play on words. The word ezer looks almost graphically identical to the Hebrew word ir, which is the word city. So when Cain is exiled and God says, hey, I'm going to protect your life and place a sign on you, and Cain ends up not wanting to take God at his word, what we're told is outside of Eden, he finds a wife, he knows her, that is, has sex with her, they have a child together, and then he builds a city.
Yeah.
What God provided for Adam, now Cain provides for himself. God built the ezer, now Cain builds the ir. And which means
It's a contrast we're supposed to pay attention
what
to.
God wanted to provide was a partner for the human so that the humans can be two but also one. And specifically, the delivering ally that God provided would be the womb that continues the preservation, the hosting and the preservation of life,
Yeah.
the mother. And that's what Adam calls Eve. Em kol chai, she is the mother of all living. God builds a delivering ally who is the mother of all life.
Yeah.
Cain builds his own delivering help in the form of a city. And I think this analogy between Eve and the city is what's underneath a really prominent theme, is that cities, when they're depicted metaphorically in biblical poetry, are always depicted as mothers.
The city is a mother.
Yeah, the city is a mother. The city is Eve. But just like Adam and Eve, an image of God can become a source of life in the world or a source of folly and death. And so in the same way, cities, and cities are set on analogy to Eve, cities can become a source of life in the world, a womb out of which life is preserved and emerges, or they can become a source of folly and death. In other words, there's an analogy between cities and humans.
Okay.
They can be good, they can go bad. And I think this is our core thing about cities. Is our core point is that the city is a human creation, and as an extension of human,
It's our shell.
it's a shell. Yeah, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad. And the biblical authors want to primarily highlight how it's for bad, but they'll occasionally highlight how it becomes a womb or a source of life. The Joseph story does that, shows
Yeah.
us the city of Egypt, and in what we'll see today, Jerusalem becomes the primary mother of all living, at least for a time.
How far can we push this analogy between the woman and the city?
Well, I think it's set up in the design
Uh-huh.
of the early Genesis stories, so they're trying to stoke our imaginations.
That the city to humanity is like the woman to man.
Yes, yeah.
We need your help. Ring Them Bells is a non-profit organization where every dollar donated goes right back into the mission of spreading the good news and helping those in need. The main ministry of Ring Them Bells is serving those in need in the name of our King Jesus. Over the past year, we have fed over 2,000 meals, and next year, we want to double that. We can't do this without your support. Everything we create here and all of the food that we serve is free because it's paid for by generous viewers just like you. If you feel led to donate and join the mission with us here at Ring Them Bells, click the Give Butter link in the notes and comments of this video. If you can't support us financially, please continue to like and share the content, as this helps us so much with spreading the good news about what Jesus has done for our world.
It's the middle of this. I think part of the difficulty with the New Testament is we don't actually know with a lot of these documents where they were written to, but there is some good evidence for suggesting that 1 Timothy is written to the church or to somebody who's in Ephesus. In Ephesus, there is one big temple, which you can still see the ruins of today, which is the temple of Diana, or Artemis in Greek. And the thing about the cult of Artemis is that it was a female-only cult. It was a female goddess, they had female priestesses. And though there were plenty of other religions in Ephesus, it was a great metropolis, this was the big one, the big local civic religion was one in which women were the key leaders. Now, what's going to happen when a little group discover Jesus and discover that there's, hey, this whole new thing going on, which people are calling the way or following the Messiah or whatever it is? One of the most natural things would be, since men and women are drawn into this, for people to assume locally that the women should take over the leadership. Yes. And the key word here, where it says assume authority, is it's actually a very difficult word. I think I looked it up not long ago. There's 12 different meanings in the lexicon, and they're quite significantly different meanings. But I think in the context, the most likely meaning is, I'm not saying, by telling you that women have a different way of doing stuff, that actually the women have got to take over leadership here. That's not where it's at. But the point about quietness and submission, I don't think refers to women being quiet and submissive in relation to men in the congregation. The word quiet is the word for leisure, which comes through as somebody who has time to study. Now, you've asked me, it's a complicated question,
Sure.
so I'm going on a little bit
Yes.
longer. But think about Mary and Martha in Luke 10. Mary, notoriously, is sitting at the feet of Jesus. Martha is busy in the kitchen and gets cross.
Yes.
Our normal picture of that in the modern Western world is Mary sitting there dewy-eyed, gazing up in raptures at this wonderful teacher. And there may be a frisson of that as well, that Martha would actually like to be doing that and she doesn't feel she's able to, whatever. But to sit at the feet of a teacher, think of Paul sitting at the feet of Gamaliel. Paul wasn't gazing up dewy-eyed at Gamaliel. Paul was learning how to be a Torah scholar so that he could be a teacher. Mary has, as it were, invaded the male space in the house, which is where the disciples are learning from the teacher, and disciples learn from a teacher in order to be teachers themselves, and Jesus says, she belongs here. That's one of the most explosive little scenes in Luke's gospel. So I forget the exact words I use in my translation, but I think he's saying women have to be given, as the men might not want to give them, the leisure to study submissively in the sense of they've got to learn from God like the rest of us, and that then she must have the leisure to do that. But I'm not saying that the women have got to take over the leadership, because we're not like the cult of Artemis down the road. Now, that doesn't solve all the problems in this passage. I have written about this in various places, but I think that's at the heart of it, that he's wrestling with this very difficult issue, which we still have, of men tending to fall into the stereotypes and women tending to fall into the stereotypes, saying, no, we've got different ways of doing being male and being female, but, I mean, you are still male and you are still female, but here's how to move from where we are towards where we need to get with appropriate male and female leadership.
All humanity is God's image. This is what we learn in the first pages of the Bible, where Adam and Eve, in Hebrew their names mean human and life, They're called God's image, which means they represent God in his holy space.
And that holy space is a garden in a land called Eden.
Yes, and the story is designed to show that Eden is the reality that the later tabernacle symbolized and pointed back to. For example, look close at the descriptions of Eden. There's the larger region on the land that's called Eden, but then within Eden, God plants a garden. And then in the center of that garden, God plants the tree of life.
The design of Eden matches the tabernacle design.
Yes, and there are details in the Eden story that are developed much later in the Bible showing how Eden is on a high mountain.
Because they're in a place where earth meets heaven.
Exactly. And God tells these humans to work and to keep the garden. These are the same words that are used later in the Bible to describe what priests do in the tabernacle.
So Adam and Eve are God's image and are like priests, working and worshiping in a type of heaven on earth temple.
Yes, they represent creation before God, and as God's image, they represent God to all of creation. And they do all of this in this sacred space that's saturated with the life and presence of God. And so God tells them to rule creation on his behalf. They're like priests who embody God's heavenly wisdom and rule here on earth.
You could call them royal priests.
Exactly. Now, this whole setup, the royal priests in God's presence where there's abundance and life, in the book of Genesis, this is called God's blessing.